All right, what's up guys? VV back with another video, and in today's video we got another truck update style video. Right now I'm waiting outside my son's school, waiting to pick him up. He gets out about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. So I got here early so I could record this video, and we got another topic to talk about today. We've got 3 different cards to go over, maybe technically 4, but I want to talk to you guys about some cards that I don't know if they should still be banned or not, and I want to know what you guys have to say about it. I want to know what you guys think about it. Okay, so as usual, guys, I'll have everything timestamped in the general description, and I'll have all relevant links and stuff like that in the comment section below. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below, or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link will be in the channel description. Today's video is brought to you by Nin Garden, and pre-orders are now available for 4 new playmats, including Chaos Crew and Green Fury. They also carry apparel such as the Kings of Heart tee and pin. So be sure to use the code TheVVTheory at the checkout to get 8% off on your next order. Now, let's do this, guys. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. The very first thing I want to talk about is basically it's in regards to Emu and 8-cost Gecko Moria. Like the 5-cost, or excuse me, the 5 Elders 10-cost SR from OP13. It's absolutely insane. I had to like write this down to like kind of map out all that it's doing, and I want to compare it to Gecko Moria, because I'm going to be honest, guys, if this 5 Elders card is allowed to exist, I don't know why 8-cost Gecko Moria cannot. Okay, so this is actually, let me explain Gecko Moria first, and then we'll go through 5 Elders, right? So Gecko Moria, 8-cost, 9,000 power character, right? And that is a card that pulls a 4-cost and a 2-cost out of your trash. So let's talk about like the most insane plays we used to see with that card, which was typically around Lucci. Black Yellow Luffy could run it as well and get some really high value pulling out the 2-cost characters. But, you know, other than that, I think the number one abuser of Gecko Moria was Lucci, right? And with that combo, so 1 card out of hand, you got an 8-cost, 9,000 power character, which pulled out a 4-cost Rebecca from your trash, which was a blocker, and then you also pulled out a Helmeppo from your trash with the 2-cost part of the on-play effect of the Gecko Moria. Now, the Rebecca would typically pull out a 3-cost Spandine, which would typically pull out a 4-cost Lucci. So at the end, once everything was said and done, you basically got about 21 Dawns worth, because it was 8 for Gecko, 4 for Rebecca, 2 for Helmeppo, 3 for Spandine, and 4 for Lucci. Okay, so that was a 21 Dawn investment, and you still had 2 Dawn left for the turn, right? So here's the thing, with that, with everything said and done, you ended up getting a 9,000 power body, a blocker, a little 0 power blocker, a chump blocker, and then you got a bunch of little tiny bodies on the board that didn't really do much after they hit the on play, and then you have a 4-cost 6K Rob Lucci. Okay, now let's compare that. And by the way, you went -1 in hand to do that, which is not too bad. Only -1 in hand. You play out 1 8-cost 9K, and you got all that other stuff from your trash. Now, let's consider what the 5 Elders are doing from Emu. Okay, so you do have to be on a 10 Dawn turn. The Gecko Moria, you could technically start playing out 1 turn earlier on your 8 Dawn turn, right? On an 8 or 9 Dawn turn, you could play out the Gecko Moria. But whether you went first or second, it does take 1 extra turn to play out the 10-cost 5 Elders card, right? But here's what it did, or here's what it does. And this is with the stage, guys. I am considering that you're running the 7-cost stage, of course, so that you can play out this 10-cost character for 3 Dawn, and then pay 1 additional Dawn to do the activate main, and you're going to trash a card from hand. We're going to talk about the card trash from hand in just a second. But you're getting a 4-cost Searcher from this. You're getting a 4-cost blocker with an on KO draw a card, a 6-cost blocker that can KO a 5 or less base cost, a 6-cost rush character that when attacking does -2,000 power for the turn, and then a 7-cost character that buffs your entire board on your turn by 2,000 power and makes them all into 7,000 power characters. And you might think like, yeah, but that's going -2 in hand, right? Or technically -3 in hand if you're using the KO character, right? I think his name is Mars. he requires you to trash a card from your hand to KO a character. Okay, so you played out a 10-cost character, you trashed a card for the effect, and then you trash another card for the KO effect of Mars. Well, here's the thing though, guys. One of those cards you're playing out is a Searcher. So you get a card back. And then the other card you play out, the other 4-cost card is a blocker with an on KO to draw a card. So you're getting to ignore 2 attacks with this version. You know, with the Gecko Moria example, you can only ignore a single attack with the 4-cost 0 power Rebecca. And with the 5 Elders example, you get 2 4-costs back. That attack for 7k, by the way, if they do stick on the board, but you get 2 cards, or excuse me, you get 2 blockers with the 5 Elders. Sorry guys, got a little mixed up there. You get 2 blockers with the 5 Elders, one of which draws a card on KO. And then we have the Searcher. So you're actually only going -1 in both of those examples. Gecko Moria, you play the 1 card out of your hand, and then with the 5 Elders, you play out the 10-cost card, you trash a card for the effect, you trash another card for the 6-cost character's effect to KO a character, but then you're going to draw a card immediately from the top search, from the top 5 search from I think it's either Warcury or Garcia. I can't remember, Jay Garcia, it might be Garcia. And then of course when you block, you're going to draw another card. So you end up getting 2 blockers, and you do end up going just -1 in hand, just like in the Gecko example. So all that to say, oh, and I forgot to mention one other thing, guys. I forgot to mention one other small detail. None of those characters that you play off of Gecko Moria are protected at all. But every single character you play off of the 5 Elders interaction, they're all protected, every one of them. None of them can be removed by your opponent's effects. So I say that I'm not trying to complain, guys, understand where I'm coming from. I'm just trying to say, if that card is allowed to exist in OP13, what is it about Gecko Moria that's so insanely busted? Because if it is, now, number one, if you're going to try to make an example with Lucci, I just can't buy it, because Lucci, there is so much anti-removal floating around in the game currently, like especially going into OP13 and moving forward, that I don't know if Lucci would even be a problem with Gecko like it used to be, with the way that power creep has happened, and Ice Age is gone too. But I think the only other argument someone could have is the 8-cost Gecko Moria might be too strong, quote unquote, in like Black Yellow Luffy, especially now that we have the 5-cost 7k Ace. Okay, then just pair ban it. Like now that they have pair bans introduced to the system, because I think 8-cost Gecko Moria would be really nice for green-black Perona, and of course, mono-black Gecko Moria, the leader. So, I don't know. I'm just going to say this, guys. I want to know what y'all have to say about it, but after messing around on the sim in OP13, I've been messing around with it quite a bit lately, and that interaction, once Emu gets to the late game, you're probably toast, right? Unless you're running a deck of equal strength in the late game. Like I think Red Blue Ace can hang with him, right? And then maybe Blue Purple Luffy can hang with him a little bit. But in general, man, that interaction is just so unbelievable. It's basically it's like Gecko Moria 2.0 is what it feels like to me. And I forgot to mention how much Dawn you were getting out of that. So guys, if you're with the Gecko Moria, you're getting like for 8 Dawn, you're spending 8 and you're getting like a 21 Dawn investment, right? Or like a 21 Dawn yield, however you want to say that. But then with the 5 Elders, you're spending 4 and you're getting a 27 Dawn yield, right? I'm not counting the 10-cost character because, again, you're playing that for 4. You're cheating it out for 4. But if you want to add 6 more to that, okay, you're at a 33 Dawn yield, or however you want. I don't know. It depends on how you want to see it. I see it like this, though, guys. You are playing out 27 Dawns worth of characters for 4 Dawn, okay? Whereas Gecko was playing out 21 Dawns worth for 8 Dawn. So, I don't know. I think it's a little much. It does feel like it's a little much, and I know people are going to say, yeah, power creep's a thing. I get it, but we still have to keep the game balanced, right? At least in my mind, guys, I would be trying to keep the game balanced. And this Emu is just, it just seems a little bit outrageous. Let me say this, if they really don't want to ban Gecko Moria, but they want to bring Emu in line a little bit, I feel like it's the stage is a little bit too strong, and if it's not the stage, then it's the 10 cost character. Maybe there should only be like 1 or 2 of those allowed in a deck. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And again, I'm not trying to beat up on Emu too much right now. I think it's going to be a very fun deck and a very interesting, cool deck to play. But man, I think it's going to be a nightmare to play against. And I'm always trying to think of that, guys. Always try to put yourself in the other player's shoes, right? If you're trying to play Emu nonstop at your locals, okay, that's fine. You know, I think you should play what you want to play. You know, as long as it's legal and all that stuff, right? You're not playing with like banned cards, then sure, why not? They're your cards you own, and why not play what you want to play? But let's also consider that if you go against like, you know, newer players, I think certain decks will probably scare them off. Like I've mentioned that about Green Bonnie, I've mentioned that about Yellow and L in the past, you know, and a bunch of other leaders. It's not just Emu, okay? But it's one of those things where it's like, man, if something like this takes over the format, could that be a little too toxic moving forward? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, guys. Don't, you know, I'm just trying to think about things, guys. I'm trying to, you know, see what you got. I really want to see what you guys think about it, because I yap about this stuff all the time, nonstop, 24/7, right? I'm always thinking about this stuff. But I'm just going to say this. Hopefully you guys can still hear me over here. Whoop. Okay. I'm just going to say this, guys. I do feel like Emu has power crept the game to a certain point where it's like, dang, bro, this feels a little bit crappy to go against. I'm not gonna lie, especially if you're trying to play an off meta deck. Good luck. But is that where we're at now? I feel like there's always been like one leader or at least one card that's power crept every single block, like one major card per block. Back in block 1, the #1 most power crept card, in my personal opinion, was the what's his name? Edward Newgate, the leader, the red 6,000 power, 6 life leader. I think that card was just way too power crept, and that was just in set 2 in block 1, right? And then when we get to block 2, I think it was Gecko Moria. And then when we get to block 3, and there's a few other cards too, guys, but I'm naming like the main, you know, the main offenders here. But then in block 3, I think it was Blue Purple Luffy, and I think Gum Gum Giant was in there too. Was that block 3? It's either block 2 or block 3. I can't remember. Whatever the case is, it was kind of both of them though, right? Let me move this back over. There we go. It was kind of both of them, right? Like, you know, Blue Purple Luffy and Gum Gum Giant, they really kind of tag teamed the meta in like really power crap things to an extreme degree. But now we're in block 4, and now it's got to be Emu in my opinion. Like Red Blue Ace for sure too. I think Red Blue Ace has got its own problems when it comes to balance. But man, I'd rather go against Red Blue Ace right now than I'd rather go against Emu. Maybe that's just a personal thing. And again, guys, I want to know what y'all think about that. Okay, so we got 2 other cards to talk about. Really 3 other cards. The first one we got to mention is we're going over to yellow now. So that was black with Emu, right? Now we got to go over to yellow. We got to go over to Reject and Raigo in particular. So like I said, it's kind of like a 2-for-1 with yellow. If they're going, like, I have to say, in general right now, it seems like yellow is like a whole power level under whatever the next deck is. And same with black, by the way. That's what I was mentioning, Gecko Moria. Other than Emu and OP13, black seems like it's a little underpowered. For those who are not aware, about 2 weeks ago, or whenever US Nationals was, I think it was about 2 weeks ago at the time we were recording this, there was not a single black deck in the top 32 of US Nationals. Not one. Okay? And there were people that ran black decks at the tournament, but they just, none of them made it into the top 32. And then when it comes to yellow, yellow's also on the lower end of things right now. It's not doing the greatest. So I think black and yellow are kind of like at the lowest point in the game right now. They're at the lowest power level in the game right now. And some people might say blue, but I think blue can hang in there because it at least has decks that it can run with, like Blue Purple Luffy. Even though it's a combination deck, it can still run those, right? It can run Blue Purple Luffy, Blue Purple Sanji, maybe even Blue Purple Reiju. I don't know. Even Green Blue Zanji is kind of picking up some steam, right? But black and yellow seem to be really struggling right now. So black we talked about with Gecko Moria, and that's other than Emu. Like I said, obviously Emu is kind of in its own category right now as far as like all the other black decks go. But moving over to yellow now, does Raigo really need to be banned anymore? Because I will say this, guys, I was completely for banning Raigo if they were going to replace it with an appropriately powered card that more fit the theme of yellow. Like, I kept thinking, like, well, why does Raigo KO? Why doesn't it put the card into life? Because that's yellow's big mechanic, is life manipulation, right? And I like when yellow has removal that pushes cards into the life. right? Like, for example, 8-cost Katakuri. I love that card. I think it's a really well-made and designed card because it's a yellow powerhouse, and it's a great yellow staple that can go in pretty much any yellow deck. And it has removal, but it's done appropriately for yellow, where it pushes a card into life. I think that's awesome and well-designed. Well, Raigo didn't do that. Raigo just KO'd whatever character was on the board. Okay, well, why is that? That's not even like a yellow thing. And it doesn't even do it based off of life. It just drops you down to 1 life if you weren't already there. So it's like, okay, yeah, I get them wanting to get rid of that, because I think the big complaint they had was how it was working with Enel. But okay, just pair ban it. If that's a new method we have, guys, is this pair ban system, I think we should use it to its fullest extent. If Raigo was such a problem because of Enel, number one, I think they should have banned Enel. Sorry, guys. Hey, I'm a yellow main, so I'm allowed to make that. I'm allowed to make that call, guys. I gotta fix my hair there. But no, I'm allowed to make that statement there, guys, because I'm a yellow main. I would have rather them just banned Enel than Raigo. But more than anything, I wish they hadn't banned either, and I wish they had just, gotten rid of Raigo for a replacement that was a 6-cost that pushed a card to life. Kind of like Ultra Merman Marine or whatever, Ultra Merman Marine card, I can't remember what it's called. It's a 6-cost yellow card that pushes a 6-cost character to the top or bottom of its owner's life. And like, that's cool and all, but why didn't it just push anything back to life, like in the same way 6-cost Red Roc does? Red Roc just bottom decks any card. And I think cards like that do need to exist, but why is it only in blue? Now, black has removal, we know, with Stussy, and black has all kinds of different removal options. Blue has Red Roc, and then it also has like a slightly lesser but sometimes stronger form in Gravity Blade Raging Tiger against the decks that go wide. Red has a bunch of power-based removal. They could round table something if they need to get rid of it at, worst case scenario. I'm not saying that's a good option, but they have that option, as well as the 10-cost Shanks can hit most targets. And if you combo it with other cards, if you prep, you can hit pretty much anything. What else? So red, blue, green can rest any character in the game down, no problem. It can KO any rested character as well. And it can even lock down rested characters. We talked about black. And then purple, they're kind of the color that I don't think really should have all that much removal, because they have the ramp to get to where they need to the fastest, where other decks need the removal to keep up with them, right? But yellow doesn't have anything anymore. They still don't. They haven't had it for a while. We saw Slam Gibson come out for Supernova decks. I'm not a huge fan of what they did there. I won't talk too much about it. I had a whole rant on that whenever that came out. I was saying, why is it locked to Supernova? Why doesn't it hit a 10 cost? Done with it, right? But I thought that was a good step in the right direction. It should have been a 6-cost card that put a character on the top of, the owner's life. So that way you could get any card off the board that you needed. But, again, the fact that card is exclusively yellow Supernovas really hurts, what yellow needed. Like, not just Supernova needed that effect, basically. So I guess my question is, why don't they just unban Raigo and pair ban it with Enel? What do you guys think about that? Would that be fair, or is it too strong? Because I know, again, we're about to talk about Black Yellow Luffy. They're probably going to say, well, no, even Black Yellow Luffy was running Raigo. Okay, guys, let me ask you guys this: if they brought back Gecko, Moria, and Raigo, and Black Yellow Luffy ran the exact way it used to run, would it still be too strong for these new leaders? Because if that is the case, that's fine, because there's an easy answer to that: pair ban. That simple, right? Guys, it's that simple. Just fix it like that. That's what they could do, right? Make it where Gecko, Moria, pair banned. It can't be with Luffy, because I think they didn't really intend for that interaction to happen. Okay, pair ban Black Yellow Luffy, no Gecko, Moria. And then Raigo, okay, pair ban that with Enel. That's gone, done. They could fix that and then give the other options to the other decks where it could maybe help space out some power levels across the field. Again, tell me what you guys think about that. Okay, the other yellow card is Reject. I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't see any difference. In fact, I see a card that's actually worse in Reject versus like Dead Man's Game or Hody Jones. Like, honestly, I think most people would say that Dead Man's Game is actually even stronger than Raigo. What do you guys think about that? Maybe not. It might not be. Don't quote me on it. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there could be some potential there. Because while Reject can deal 1 damage to an opponent's life when they have exactly 1 life, right? And it kind of works as an execute. So you hit them when they're at 1 life, and now you can attack through and try to go for lethal. Well, what's the difference between, like, say you're playing against like a blue-purple Luffy, right? And you have Dead Man's Game in hand, and they have a blocker Nami on the board. Whoops, dropped my glasses. Sorry, guys. But what if they have like a blocker Nami and 1 Dawn active for Gum Gum Giant, and you go, okay, pay 4, by the way, Dead Man's Game, knock down your blocker and knock down your Dawn. Do you guys realize that like that is a way more devastating play than having Raigo in your hand? Because number one, if they're at 0 life, that Raigo's a dead card, right? I mean, I guess you could technically take out the Nami in that situation, right? Because I think it can KO a 5 or less. I can't remember. I haven't messed around with it in so long, but I think it has the ability to KO a 5 or less still. So I guess you could take out the Nami technically, but now they still have a Dawn open for Gum Gum Giant. So, and in this situation, do they have an extra life left where you have to pick between burning up their last life or burning up their blocker? Again, I don't really see how, I don't see how Reject is any stronger than Dead Man's Game right now, because Dead Man's Game not only can rest down 2 Dawn or 2 blockers or a blocker and a Dawn, but it's also very searchable, being, you know, I think, what is it, Straw Hat Crew? I think, you know, so it has like Straw Hat Crew tag built into it. And then it's also a 1-cost 3K on defense. So not only can you use it offensively to try to go for game, you can use it defensively to counter out of attacks as a 1-cost 3K, you know, to protect your leader. So tell me what you guys think about that. I'm not going to spend too much time on Reject. I know they're not bringing any of these cards back, guys, or I'm very doubtful that they will. It's very unlikely that they will. But again, I want you guys to compare it like what I just said. If Dead Man's Game can be in the game, which I think it should be, I think Dead Man's Game is completely fine in the game. But if Dead Man's Game can be in the game, then why not Reject? Because Yellow, we see Yellow struggling. It's not like Yellow's doing that great. Is there a specific leader that they're scared of it being in? Maybe Yamato or something like that? I'm not sure. You guys tell me. I'm actually pretty confused on that one. But I will say this, the fact that Yellow is doing so rough right now, it's really struggling at the moment. You know, I don't know. I feel like they could bring that back. I think they could bring that card back. Even make it as a one-of, restrict it. Instead of totally unbanning it, maybe restrict it or something. Again, we're just brainstorming, guys. Tell me what y'all think. Okay, we got one more card to talk about now. We got to go to blue, right? We went over, like I said, the 3 weakest colors in the game right now are probably in order, black, yellow, and then blue. Black with Emu is different. Like I said, that's very much its own thing. Like, I understand that is a black deck. It's a mono black deck at that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like, that is literally its own thing. Every other deck in the black, you know, color pool, or, you know, that part of the color pie is struggling severely. So where was I going with that, guys? I kind of went off on a tangent there. So we went over black, we went over yellow, now we got to talk about blue. I think they should bring Jinbe back. I understand that a lot of people are traumatized at how strong Doflamingo was. I'm not going to lie, it was. I honestly think that blue Doflamingo was way too strong for a moment there. I don't think it would be anymore, by the way. I think the game has power crept to a certain point now where it just wouldn't be that big of a deal. It'd be strong, and it would probably be a good answer to Emu. I don't know about Ace. I have to think about that, because you can attack pretty wide on the board. I don't know. For all the blue Dofi mains out there, how would blue Doflamingo be in the current meta? Excuse me, going into OP13. I should apologize, guys. Most of the stuff we're obviously talking about in reference to OP13, because we're talking about Black Emu, you know, so this is all kind of in reference to OP13. I understand we're getting PRB02 today, right? At the time you're recording this video and putting it out is the release day for PRB02 in the West. But understand, most of the stuff I'm talking about right now would be in reference to OP13 in the West, right? So would blue Doflamingo be okay right now? Would it even be able to compete against some of these decks? Because I feel like green Zoro would be very strong into blue Doflamingo. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about that. What about Emu? Because Emu has like a lot of ways to deal with characters on the board. It has lots of blockers. It has lots of defensive counter. I just feel like blue Doflamingo nowadays with Jinbe, we're talking about with Jinbe, I think it would actually just be like relatively balanced. What do you guys think about that? Is that no way? Is there no way? I don't know. Well, that's about all I got for you guys today. I don't want today's video to be to run too long. I don't want any of these you know, random car videos, these random thought, you know, car videos to go for too long. But those are the topics. Let me run through them one more time with you guys. So going into OP13, what do you guys think about them unbanning 4 specific cards? I want to know what y'all think about each one. Like, tell me about each one. Please be respectful. I'm just trying to see what you guys think. Number 1 for black, Gecko Moria, now that Emu exists. For number 2 is yellow, 2 and 3 is yellow, Reject and Raigo. Can either one of those exist in the current state of the game going into OP13? Would they be bounced enough? And then number 4 for blue would be Jinbe. Can any of those cards make it off the ban list? Do y'all think that Bandai even will? Like, I mean, it's one thing for us to talk about this stuff, but it's a whole nother thing for Bandai to actually like go like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this, right? We're gonna actually unban these, blah blah blah. I don't know. All right, I'm done yapping. Hope y'all enjoyed. So guys, again, I'm really looking forward to reading y'all's answers in the comment section below. Tell me what y'all think about all that stuff we talked about today. Because some of those cards, the way that OP13 is going with the way Power Creep is going, I don't know if I'm scared of any card on the ban list anymore, outside of Nami, because that was actually getting to the point where it might could just like solitaire win out of every game at you know, if it got to a certain point. But other than blue Nami, I don't even know if I'm scared about red purple law anymore, guys. What do y'all think about that? I mean, could pair ban that with black Moria? I don't know. I let me just say this, just to end on, I really love the idea of this pair banning idea. I love the idea of the pair banning idea. Y'all know what I mean? I actually think it's a great idea, and I think it could fix a lot of problems in the game, and then rotations could fix them in the long term. You know what I mean? Wait for these cards to go out, and then you don't have to worry about the pair banning and stuff like that. So yeah, all right, I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.